welcome. I'm Carolina. I'm into computer things since I was a kid. I started at 6 when my dad bought a family computer. We used to have family computers, not personal computers back then. I'm originally from Argentina, but I've been working in software also in France and in Finland. And since 2 years ago, I'm engineering team leader at Wolt. My LinkedIn here is on the screen if you want to contact me or ask questions about this presentation or anything that you may need help with, please go ahead and contact me. Today we're going to cover 3 big questions. What is product development? Who is involved? How much? And how are new features decided to then be implemented? This means that we're going to have a VIP pass to the backstage of software development. As said before, I work at Wolt. Wolt is a huge company, 23 countries, where we offer our services. We are 8,000 employees in total. We have millions of users, and that's an inspiration for all of us. Hundreds of thousands of people doing deliveries, which we call courier partners, and merchants selling their products and meals there. We are building a mall in your pocket. And for this task, we need a lot of people. That's why we have an organization of around 600 people building great software products. And we are divided in 62 teams and still counting. We're growing a lot. So first question was, what's product development? This is a process that an idea goes through to actually become a release. It can be a physical product or a digital one. And this process is something that almost all the companies have and use. Nobody's trying to reinvent the wheel with these things. This process has different stages. We have discovery. We are going to discuss what we want to do. What problem do we want to solve? How can we engage users to use our software? How are we going to make money with it? And a lot of other things that are part of understanding what we want to do. After that, there is a stage for idea generation. What kind of features are we going to offer? Can we make a list of them? We're going to see a bit of this in a few minutes. Then it comes product design. If you just met us some minutes ago, our fellows from Ericsson were talking about this stage. Is where we are going to analyze if these features align with what the business wants to do, build beautiful designs, and try to understand how those screens are going to interact with each other. Then we're going to have a stage for software development. Pay attention to everything that is happening before we actually code. And after that, there's going to be a release. Let's discuss a bit about the idea generation. This is basically a list of requirements. There are many different requirements according to the company, but the ones listed here are some of the most common ones. You will probably need a login. That's really common nowadays. And if you need to log in, you will need to register somehow. So we need a feature for that. We need to recover password if we lose it. If we have an account, most likely there's going to be a profile with our information, a list of items. And if there's a list of items somewhere, there's going to be an item description. There's going to be a menu to navigate through the different parts of the system and a logout. This is an idea generation list. There are also 2 types of requirements in the software world. One of those is the functional ones. This list of features that is really clear and they have a purpose and we all know what they do. But we also need to take care of other aspects that are called non-functional, and these are crucial. We want the system to be available, that every time you visit a website or an app, it really works. It doesn't have to be available all the time. It just has to be available when you want to use it. It also needs to be easy to use, because otherwise users wouldn't. It needs to be fast. The theoretical word here to use is it needs to perform. It needs to be good looking, reliable, because we don't want our user data to be leaked in the internet. And it needs to be scalable, which means that it needs to grow and be able to work correctly. It doesn't matter if we have 10 users or 1,000. Nothing needs to break. There are more, but these are really important ones. The features that we just mentioned are developed by cross-functional teams. A cross-functional team means that one team has different specialists from different areas that help us to build something really good. So we're going to have engineers. We're going to have designers, data analysts, QA analysts for testing, and product leaders. Product leaders have a key role in the software development. They are working closely with the business requirements and also closely with the teams. So they are connecting these two worlds, so we implement what the business really wanted to implement. Let's talk a bit more about engineering here. There are different kinds of engineers, and engineer is usually the name that a developer has in a company. It's not really related to going to university and getting an engineering degree. We have mobile developers, people that build beautiful apps, Android, iOS, React Native or Flutter, hybrid apps. We have backend. These people work with the logic of the system, with the databases, collect all the information, and then, for instance, a mobile phone will show you in the screen. We also have front-end developers. These are basically designing everything you see in the screen in a website. Many companies have full-stack developers. Many companies have just front-end or just back-end developers. Full-stack means that one person that can do a bit of both. But in many companies, some people prefer to just focus on just one technology. We also have security. We don't want really bad hackers to come to us, steal data from our users and do something evil. We have people working closely with how we do our code so it's not vulnerable. It's common that companies have good hackers that will try to hack the system and find vulnerabilities before outsiders find them. And we also have QA engineers or QA analysts. This is really interesting because although they do testing, they actually write code to test somebody else's code. Let's talk a bit about how we are building ideas. The key here is teamwork. An idea becomes a feature when a group of people, usually from the business side of the company, the product side of the company, and many times users, they are going to discuss according to what their needs are or what their business model wants them to be, and define this is the project that we could do next. Now, this needs to be validated by the team. The product team has a set of different specialists, and they need to review if these ideas are technically feasible. Sometimes people think too science fiction, and the technology to solve a problem doesn't exist today. The team will analyze what we can do if something takes a lot of time or if something actually cannot be made. But we are going to usually provide an answer and say, we cannot do this, but we can do this other thing that will reach us to the same result. Once the team gives the okay to proceed with this project, there's going to be a designer involved. And as our Ericsson fellows mentioned, there's going to be a process of designing a feature. This process will have as a result a wireframe. A wireframe is a map of an application or screens that are interacting with each other. The team also needs to review this to understand if those designs can be implemented. Sometimes things are too artistic, and the team needs to say, we cannot do this with the technology of today, but we can do this other thing. After this, there's going to be a translation of these designs and these business requirements to technical requirements. And right after that, we can start software development. Pay attention to everything that has been happening before. How many people have been talking to each other and collaborating together? How do we build new features? We use this process, and it exists. We don't try to reinvent the wheel here. So we have a set of people, product, design, analytics. They work together supporting the team in all the process of software development. Software development is done with iterations. We commit to do some part of those requirements. We develop, we test, we release. We review if that release is working. Are users using this? Did they find any bugs? Should they fix something? Then we go back again. We fix, we take new requirements, we test, we release. To organize this, we work with Agile practices. Let's review a bit how our days look like. Product teams usually work in sprints. This is a number of weeks where we focus in solving small problems. Small problems solve big problems. So we commit to do few things per period of 2 weeks. During these weeks, we're going to have different meetings or ceremonies where we're going to understand with the product person how this software needs to be, how it needs to look. I don't have all the understanding of this feature. Could you explain more? That's called refinement, bringing all the knowledge to the team so they can work on those features. We also have planning, where we commit to do a small portion of things every 2 weeks. Every day we have daily. Dailies are really short meetings where we are going to discuss how the progress is going. What did you do? What you're going to do next? We don't need a lot of time to this, so we just discuss. We try to help each other. If somebody needs a design review, we're going to have it. If somebody needs to remove a blocker, then we are also helping that person. Finally, at the end of the sprint, we're going to have retro, which is a meeting it's super important to have. Retro is where we analyze how the last 2 weeks were. What things did we do really well, and then we should repeat them. And also what things didn't go as expected, and we could avoid making those mistakes again. Some teams have demo sessions every 2 weeks, but in our environment at Wolt, we have when we have something to show. Let's go through this with an example from Wolt. Wolt is a huge company, and in 2018, the users were requesting one specific feature. People from the company were super engaged with this idea, and the business side saw a really big potential. The feature is making one order between multiple people, and we developed. The version 1 was promising. It did the basic things you need. You can choose a restaurant. You can click on Order Together. You can invite your friends with a QR code. It meets the purpose. It doesn't look good, but we can test with it. The final version, for now, of group orders is this one, and you can find it in our app. It looks better. It doesn't only meet the purpose, it's also beautiful. So, it's approved to go to release. What we are talking here is about iterative process. This is good theory from software engineering, and it means that we work in iterations. The first iteration is probably not good, but it starts the basis of our project. After that, we are going to work in version 2, version 3, and version X until things get really good and we can release them. Not all the versions are released to the big audience. Some of them are released internally. Some others are never released, but they are helping us to build on top of them. Iterative process is planning a bit, refining the requirements, develop them, test, release, and repeat. This process goes hand in hand with MVP, or minimum viable product. What we are doing in software development is not building all the software at once. We do small versions of it, and in every one of them, we add more value. This is a great example. So you can start with something small. Probably users are not going to be super happy if they want a car and you offer a skateboard, but it moves you from point A to point B. For the next iteration, we add a maneuvering system, which gives user a little bit more flexibility. After that, in the third version, we add a state. Things get fancier. Then we add an engine. And finally, we add more wheels, more engine power, more seats, and you can look great in this feature with that great hair. At Wolt, we are not only focused on building products that people can use, we build products that people will love. So we do something called minimum lovable product. We add a lot of love into our screens. We have motion designers and a lot of other kind of designers working in this app. So you can find these kind of beautiful features that are hidden all over the app. If you want to tip a courier, if you want to give a big tip, they're going to be different animations. Meanwhile, you're waiting for an order, there's also a game, a tapping game that you can play. Some people come to our interviews and say that they love this game, that they play them with their children. So that's what we want, to engage you, to engage your family and your context on our products too. What have we learned with all this? 4 important things. Big companies work in similar ways. Also, small companies do this. But maybe one person has multiple hats and multiple roles. We have similar challenges and similar user problems, but probably different context. Software is built in iterations. We cannot work in all at once. It's also not expected from you to know everything. Software development is a constant learning career. There's a team to support you, and there's a team where you can learn from each other. And the most important thing, at least for me, is that developing software is not only coding. Developing software is also being able to collaborate with others and to communicate effectively with others. There's a lot of conversations going on. So these 2 are really big skills to also develop. We're hiring. And please don't miss the opportunity of visiting our website, careers.wolt.com. And we have a lot of senior positions, but we also have non-senior positions. The key here is that we are such a big company that are divided in different areas. So as you can see in the screen, every position has an area. If you see an iOS position for different areas, apply to both of them. They go through different talent acquisition specialists. Also, don't forget that we have an internship program. And you can get the news about this, scanning this QR code. They last in between 4 or 5 months. We are starting onboarding our new interns for this year, and the openings start in January. And that's it. I invite you to join our coffee break rooms, where 4 of my colleagues are also going to be there answering your questions. Thank you.